You have noticed it on receipts, on clocks, on street signs, on phone numbers, license plates, timestamps, random patterns that don't feel so random anymore. And every time it shows up, something deep inside you stirs. Not fear, not confusion, but a strange calmness, as if the number itself is trying to hold your attention, trying to wrap itself around your spirit and whisper, "Look again, this means something." And while the world may tell you it's coincidence, while logic tries to reduce it to pattern recognition or selective attention, heaven is gently tugging at your soul to tell you this. The number you keep seeing is not a glitch, not an accident, not an arbitrary quirk of daily life. It is your rescue signal, your divine lifeline sent directly from the heart of God into the fabric of your earthly routine. And it is appearing now because you are on the edge of something significant, something that your spirit has known before your mind could grasp it. And the repetition is not meant to annoy or distract you. It's meant to awaken you, to shake you out of the daze that this world's heaviness often puts you in, and to remind you that there's another reality, a greater truth, one that lives above the chaos, above the confusion, and beyond the veil of logic. And this number is God's way of breaking through the noise of your doubt, of your numbness, of your exhaustion, and saying, "I see you. I've been trying to reach you." And this is the signal that your rescue is already underway. Because while you've been praying in secret, crying in silence, and wrestling with decisions you don't even speak aloud, heaven has been listening, preparing, and now revealing that you are not forgotten. And this number, this code that seems to follow you, is actually a celestial flare, a supernatural confirmation that help is already moving in your direction. And God doesn't need thunder or lightning to send his signs. Sometimes all he needs is your willingness to see what others overlook, to feel what others dismiss, to believe in the whispers more than the shouts. And this number has a frequency, a rhythm, a voice of its own. And it speaks directly to the part of you that remembers who you were before the heartbreak, before the fear, before the weight of everything tried to convince you that you were powerless. And every time you see it, it's a code embedded with promises. Yes, promises, divine assurances that heaven is not finished with you, that what was delayed is not denied, that what was stolen is being returned, and what feels like an ending is actually the beginning of a new alignment. And you must know that this number is tied to divine timing, and that things are shifting in your favor even now. Beneath the surface of everything you think is standing still, and what you've been waiting for is closer than it looks, closer than your last doubt, your last tear, your last attempt to give up. And this number is God's echo through the layers of time, saying, keep walking, keep believing. Your rescue is unfolding, because God's rescue doesn't always come with sirens. It often comes in symbols and sacred numbers and secret repetitions only your spirit can decode. And this is one of those moments, one of those signs that demands your attention, not to scare you, but to wake you from the lull of ordinary life and remind you that you are deeply loved, intentionally chosen, and currently being lifted from a pit you didn't even realize you were sinking into. And as you continue to see this number, take a breath and recognize that heaven is trying to mark your timeline with a thread of glory, a divine breadcrumb trail that leads you away from danger, away from sabotage, away from settling, and toward restoration, wholeness, and breakthrough. And yes, others may not understand it, may not see what you see or feel what you feel, but this was not meant for them. This was carved into your life for you as a secret between your heart and God's, a symbol that says, when everything else fails, look for this number and remember, I am with you. And you need to know now that the deeper you lean into this sign, the clearer your next steps will become. And if you dare to ask heaven, what are you trying to show me through this? You will begin to notice not just numbers, but patterns, people, places, opportunities opening like doors you didn't even knock on. And this is what spiritual rescue looks like. Not flashing lights, but divine orchestration. Not panic, but peace. Not abandonment, but direction. And God is saying now, the next time you see that number, pause, smile, and know that I'm already on the way, already ahead of you, already setting things in motion. And though your situation hasn't changed yet, your rescue is already unfolding. The more you begin to notice it, the more it begins to speak, not in human words, but in holy frequency, in a language written not on paper, but directly onto your soul. And this number, this repeating signal that won't leave you alone, is not just following you, it's leading you, guiding you, whispering to you in the silence between your thoughts that your breakthrough is not only coming, it has already begun to materialize behind the curtain of your current circumstances, and what feels delayed is only heaven's way of protecting your path until it aligns perfectly with what has been prepared for you since before you were even born. And though you may not understand why now, why here, why this number, it's because God knew there would come a moment when words from others wouldn't reach you, when sermons wouldn't pierce through the fog of your thoughts, when prayers would feel like they vanished in a thin air. And so instead, he sent a number, a persistent symbol that keeps showing up in the middle of your daily routines, waking you out of numbness, reminding you that something is moving in the spirit realm, something that has your name etched into it, something that's calling you to keep holding on just a little longer. And yes, you've doubted it, you've second-guessed it, you've dismissed it, but it keeps returning because heaven won't give up on you, because God is relentless in his pursuit of you. And even if you try to ignore it, you'll see it again on a receipt, a billboard, a text message, a license plate. And it won't be a coincidence. It will be a divine tap on your shoulder saying, remember what I told you. Your help is closer than it looks. And this number, this holy signal, is encoded with more than comfort. It's encoded with timing, instruction, alignment, and revelation, because you are not being led in circles. You are being led in precision. And this number is your confirmation that the cycle is not just repeating, it's recalibrating everything in your favor. And it is heaven's way of marking time, of letting you know that your spirit clock is about to strike the hour of divine reversal, where everything you thought was lost, broken, delayed, or denied will be touched by God's hand and turned into fuel for your next elevation. And so do not panic in the waiting. Do not despair in the silence, because this signal is the opposite of absence. It is proof of presence. It is heaven's GPS telling you, stay the course. And yes, even when your emotions don't align with your faith, this number will show up to remind you that your feelings are not final. And your circumstances are not the whole story, because God is writing something bigger than you can yet see. And he is using this number like a lighthouse to draw you through the fog of uncertainty toward the shore of your destiny. And as you move closer, you'll begin to notice divine appointments you didn't arrange, connections you didn't plan, and opportunities that seem to fall into your lap like miracles in motion. And this is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual design, the architecture of heaven intersecting with your timeline. And this number is your proof that you're not lost, not forgotten, not alone, but divinely tracked and intentionally guided. And even the moments when you feel furthest from God are the moments He is closest. Speaking in symbols and signs because your heart understands them more deeply than any human words. And if you dare to press in to ask God, what are you trying to show me? You will receive not just confirmation, but clarity, not just comfort, but strategy, and you will begin to discern between distractions and direction, between counterfeit connections and divine alignment, because this number is like a password to a higher frequency, an invitation to spiritual discernment, and every time you respond to it in faith, every time you pause, acknowledge it, and align your heart, you step more boldly into the rescue that has already been scheduled for you. And soon you will see the evidence, not just internally, but externally, as doors begin to open, as peace begins to settle, as people are removed or revealed for who they are, and as provision shows up in ways that logic can't explain. And you'll look back on these repeated sightings and realize that they were never meant to annoy you. They were God's way of drawing you toward your deliverance without overwhelming you. And they have become the fingerprints of heaven all over your timeline. And now it's your time to respond, to trust, to move with expectation rather than hesitation. Because what's coming next will not require you to chase it. It will be drawn to you through your obedience, through your surrender, and through your recognition of what God has been trying to tell you all along. This number is not just a sign. It's your signal that I am rescuing you from everything that tried to bury you and raising you into everything I promised. There are no coincidences in the kingdom of heaven. And when God chooses a pattern, a number, a recurring moment that interrupts your daily life and grabs your attention like a whisper threaded through reality, it is never without deep spiritual purpose. And this number, this symbol you've been seeing over and over again on receipts, phone notifications, addresses, timestamps, digital clocks, and conversations, is not simply appearing to you for comfort, but to activate something inside of you that has been waiting for a divine spark to awaken it, because your soul recognizes what your mind has been struggling to comprehend, that you're being pursued not by fear, not by fate, but by a divine appointment that has been written in heaven long before your confusion began, and God is using this number as a lifeline, a rope made of light thrown down into the darkness you've been wrestling with, a signal that although you feel stuck, surrounded, or unseen, the rescue has already begun. And your recognition of this number is not you grasping for hope. It is evidence that hope is grasping for you, that angels are being dispatched at the command of the Most High on your behalf, and that the moment you opened your heart enough to ask, why do I keep seeing this number, was the exact moment heaven began revealing a code that would mark your exit out of the wilderness you've been wandering. And the longer you pay attention, the more detailed this rescue becomes, because God speaks in layers, and the more you honor the signs, the deeper your insight will grow, and what once felt like empty repetition will soon unfold into divine navigation. Specific instructions, holy nudges, and precise guidance delivered not through loud proclamations, but through the quiet, powerful pulse of that sacred number appearing again and again. And you may have thought the silence meant nothing was happening. that the stillness was punishment or abandonment, but it was the stage being cleared, the background being shifted, and your atmosphere being prepared for a supernatural entrance of something so transformative that the enemy has been trying to blind you to it by drowning you in distractions, in fatigue, in cycles of second guessing. But even that resistance is confirmation that you're closer than you realize. And this number is God's holy interruption. A divine flare in your spiritual sky declaring that help is not only near, but arriving, and what you thought was over is actually reawakening. What you thought was lost is actually being redirected. And what you thought was forgotten is actually being resurrected, because this is what the rescue looks like. It starts quietly with numbers, with moments, with reminders that heaven's timeline is not delayed just because Earth's calendar says otherwise. And soon, if you keep acknowledging it, you will begin to notice the number showing up precisely before spiritual decisions, during moments of emotional fatigue, or right before a shift is about to happen. And that's not random. It's God's signature marking your timeline so you know when to pay attention, when to pause, when to pray, and when to act. And as your faith increases, you will find that this number doesn't just appear outside you. It begins to resonate inside you, as if heaven is not just visiting your surroundings, but rebuilding your internal compass. And suddenly you will start to know things before they happen, feel things before they're said, and understand things without explanation. Because that's the power of divine awareness, the kind that turns ordinary people into warriors of discernment, and the kind that makes the enemy terrified because he knows the moment you start responding to the signs instead of ignoring them, you become a weapon in the hands of God, one that cannot be manipulated, delayed, or derailed. And that's why this number matters. It is your invitation into spiritual warfare, where the strategy is hidden in signs, and the rescue is wrapped in recognition. And now that your spirit has locked onto this number, you cannot unknow it, cannot unsee it. And God is going to keep revealing its meaning layer by layer until you step fully into the rescue it was designed to usher in. Because this is not just about comfort. It's about activation, about waking you up to your own power, to the promise you carry, to the assignment over your life that hell has tried to convince you to abandon. But heaven is doubling down with every appearance of this number to say, don't you dare give up. Your breakthrough has already been encoded into your timeline. And this is your sign that the shift is not coming. It's already in motion. What if I told you that this number you keep seeing, the one that follows you into the quiet spaces, the one that stirs something deep in your chest when it appears in places no human could have orchestrated, is not just a sign but a summons, a direct message from the throne of heaven tailored only for you, wrapped in divine mystery, because your soul speaks in deeper truths than language alone can hold. And now, heaven is calling you by code, by a signal, by the repetition of something sacred so your spirit would not miss it. And every time it shows up, it is peeling back the veil on a truth so big, so powerful, that if you truly grasped it in its fullness, the fear, confusion, and delay you've been carrying would drop from your shoulders like broken chains, because this number is heaven's way of saying, you are not forgotten, you are not lost. And I have never stopped working behind the scenes of your life to orchestrate your deliverance. And in moments when you felt abandoned, when your prayers returned in silence, when the heavens seemed locked, God sent this number as proof that his voice never stopped speaking. You just had to tune into the new frequency. And now that you've seen it, now that you've noticed, he's going to speak louder through it, using that number to reroute your direction, highlight the moments of alignment, show you where to plant your prayers and where to pull back, who to trust and who to release. Because this isn't just a rescue, it's a reset, a total recalibration of your atmosphere, your relationships, your calling, and your internal compass. And what the enemy hoped would keep you stuck in confusion is about to be the very thing that lifts you into clarity, into power, into the place where divine instructions flow not from panic, but from peace. Because God is not asking you to understand the number in your own wisdom. He is asking you to follow it in faith, to trust that every time it reappears, it's because heaven is tracking your steps and clearing your path at the exact same time. And I need you to understand this. There are angels assigned to respond to your awareness, warriors from the heavenly realm moving faster now, because you've recognized the signal, because your spiritual ears have opened, because your heart is leaning in. And as a result, the things that once resisted you will now begin to bow, and the resources that once dried up will flow again. And the relationships that were stuck in silence will either be resurrected or removed, because the number has done its job. It has broken the slumber. It has shaken you awake. And now you are not who you were yesterday, because you see, and because you see, you move differently, speak differently, believe differently, and because of that, heaven can entrust you with more, and it will come not in a trickle, but in a flood, not in confusion, but in confirmation, not in anxiety, but in divine assurance that everything, yes, everything you've been questioning, crying about, waiting for, is going to begin forming in real time, not in your imagination, but in the details of your life. And when it happens, when it manifests, you will remember this number as the thing that carried you when you didn't know what else to hold on to. And that's why it kept showing up, because heaven knew you would need something persistent, something holy, something subtle, but strong enough to keep you anchored until the miracle broke through. And this number is your spiritual receipt, proof that you didn't hallucinate your healing, that you weren't crazy for holding on to hope when it made no sense, and when others told you to stop expecting, when voices of doubt tried to convince you to shrink back, to give up, to numb out. God used a number to remind you, no, my child, keep watching, keep hoping, because I'm not done yet. And so I tell you now, keep your eyes open, because the next time this number appears, it will not just be a reminder, it will be the announcement that something has shifted permanently, that what was closed is now open, that the delay is over, and the favor you've been waiting on is arriving right on time. And though you couldn't see the entire staircase, you kept climbing, and now heaven is handing you the keys to the doors you didn't even know were being built for you in the dark. And when you walk through them, when you feel the atmosphere shift, you will know it wasn't random. It wasn't by accident. It wasn't by luck. It was divine design. And this number was the breadcrumb trail leading you straight to the breakthrough that your soul has been crying out for. And because you followed it, because you believed, you were about to walk into rooms where your name was already spoken in blessings, where your past no longer has the power to define you, and where the things that once seemed unreachable will be handed to you not as a reward, but as an inheritance, because this was always your rescue. And this number was always heaven's way of saying, I'm coming for you, and nothing, no fear, no delay, no rejection, no lie will stop what I've ordained.